So reports indicate that the Miami Heat look to extend a qualifying offer to Davion Mitchell, making him a restricted free agent. What's the market like for Davion Mitchell? Should the Heat match the other offer? And let's talk about this new collective bargaining agreement rise on July 1st. All that and more in another episode of Miami Heat Talk. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Now that we got that out the way, hit the intro.
That is enough said.
Happy Saturday, Heat Nation. Your boy Ernest here, back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. I got a great episode for you today, you guys. So let's get rocking and rolling on another Miami Heat Talk adventure. Now, this episode is going to be about Davion Mitchell, but it's going to lead into the new collective bargaining agreement rise that we're having in July 1st, because I think this is actually going to help the Miami Heat going into this offseason. Now, first topic, of course, is about Davion Mitchell. There was a report yesterday from the Miami Herald's Ira Winderman that came out that saying that the Miami Heat are looking to extend the qualifying offer for Davion Mitchell, which is approximately $8.7 million. And when I read this report and saw this report, I'm sure I thought the same thing that every Miami Heat fan thought. Duh. How do you not give this guy a qualifying offer? Come on. Now, what that means is not that the Heat have re-signed Davion Mitchell. When you extend a qualifying offer, that means if no other teams give Davion Mitchell an offer, he has one from the Heat, approximately $8.7 million for next season. And that would make him a free agent after the 2026 offseason, of unrestricted free agent. The Heat would own his bird rights, so you can go over the salary cap to re-sign him, but still, you want to get that done now. Now, I will say this, Davion Mitchell, who did have a pretty okay season with the Toronto Raptors for 44 games, averaged about 6.3 points a game, 4.6 assists. You know what you get with Davion Mitchell with his incredible defense. But when he came to the Heat, his numbers rise. In Toronto, he also averaged 0.7 steals a game. But check this out. His numbers in the Miami Heat: played 30 games, started 15 of them, averaged about 31 and a half minutes a game, 10.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 2.7 rebounds, 1.4 steals a game. Ladies and gentlemen, these are all career high numbers. He excelled in this Miami Heat team, and I knew it. I said this when we traded and brought in Davion Mitchell, Kyle Anderson, and Andrew Wiggins. I said that Davion Mitchell is going to be the guy that's going to be the best fit on this team. And you see it numbers-wise. You see it in all of his percentages. Field goal percentage, 50%. Three-point percentage, 44.5% with the Miami Heat. These are all career-high numbers. Except for points a game. He averages career high in his rookie season, 11.5. But the majority of the numbers he's had in the Miami Heat has been his absolute best. So his market, and the reason why I'm saying this, his market's going to be a little bit higher, especially what you saw what he could do defensively, how he could guard the opposing player's best guard, and multiple positions at that. So his value right now is seen at the full mid-level exception, which is about $14 million. So the Miami Heat do have their full mid-level exception. That's the good news. And the question is do you offer that to Davion Mitchell? Because you could look at a possible 4-year, $52 million contract for a guy like Davion Mitchell. And what he brings to the table, I think he's worth those numbers. I think Davion Mitchell's a guy that's a pretty reasonable salary for what he can do. I think he can even get better offensively, even better defensively. He's still a young guy. He's 26 years old. He fits the Miami Heat's age timeline. He's got a great fit with Bam Adebayo. These two defensively out there with Kel'el Ware, it's a great fit. But then getting to the other thing, you guys, and when I look at this Miami Heat roster and I look at their salary currently for the 2026 offseason, right now with the Miami Heat, the players that are free agents are Alec Burks, who was a part of your rotation. He was making about $3.5 million this year. Josh Christopher, Drew Smith, Isaiah Stevens, they're all off their two-way contracts. I'm sure you bring a lot of them back on the two-way contract. Kashad Johnson, he has a team option. You can go ahead and let that go if you want. Kyle Anderson. Davion Mitchell, no. Kyle Anderson's going to be with us for another 2 years. So right now, the Miami Heat do have their main core coming back. And and you look at their salary, right now the Miami Heat are set to have a salary total of $176,542 million. Now, right now, that's about $2 million under the first apron line. But in July 1st, everything changes. Everything changes, you guys. We're going to have a salary cap spike on July 1st. So the salary cap's going to go from $140 to $154 million. Now, the Heat are going to be $22 million over that cap. So it doesn't really help us hugely there. But here's where we get the hugest help. The aprons. The first and second apron will rise. The first apron goes from $178 million to $195 million. So you go from $2 million under the first apron. Now after that spike, you're going about $17 to $18 million under the first apron line. The second apron goes from $188 million to $207 million. And this is where the mid-level exception rises from $12.8 million to $14.1 million. Now look, you guys, I know a lot of Miami Heat channels aren't really talking about this. I know a lot of people aren't really discussing this. And I know this topic is a little bit boring, but this is the type of stuff that you need to know when it comes to getting players, making changes, making trades. These are the big deals. And these are the reasons why teams are holding back the way that they're holding out right now when it comes to making trades. So this stuff is very important. As confusing and as boring as it is, it's what it is right now. So the reason why these spikes are great for the Miami Heat, you guys, is because it gives us a little bit more flexibility. Now, you can make a potential trade. You can go after a Kevin Durant. Take a little bit more money. Stuff like that in trades. Because now you have a little bit of flexibility under the first apron line. But this stuff doesn't change until July 1st. So let's say if you're making a trade in the draft, you're still going by the 2025 collective bargaining agreement. But the reason why these rises are so interesting, you guys, is because if the Miami Heat can give Davion Mitchell more than his qualifying offer, they may still be under the first apron line enough to still have that $14 million mid-level exception. But if they go over it and they hit the first apron line, that mid-level exception becomes a taxpayer's mid-level exception, which goes down to $5.7 million. So now the Steven Adams of the world, the players of that caliber that can make anywhere from $12 to $15 million, you can't get them this offseason. So that's why the Miami Heat need to be very precise on what they give and what they take. Because if you stay under the first apron line, then you're not only going to be able to bring certain players back, but now you can get another player. And at $14 million a year, that's a type of contract that I just said with Davion Mitchell. That's a 4-year, $52 million contract offer. And if the Miami Heat are able to shed some salary, you have a lot of players that are on expiring contracts. You have guys like Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Kevin Love, Haywood Highsmith. You have several players that are on expiring contracts that you can move to even get further under the first apron line. This is not about bringing back certain players to keep this team happy. This is about bringing back core players and keeping yourself under the first and second apron line so you can go make a trade for a superstar level player if you can. Because here's the thing, you guys. If you're under the salary cap or even over the salary cap and under the first apron line, which the Heat currently are, you have a lot of flexibility. But when you go over these aprons, it bites you in the ass. The first apron, your mid-level exception goes down. You can't really send out a lot more money when it comes to trade. There's like 125% trade line. So you have to make sure that it's a certain amount. You can't sign a buyout player unless they were making more than the mid-level exception. So let's say if there's a player that's making like $30 million, just like an example, let's say a Julius Randle gets bought out and you're a first apron team. You can't sign him. You can't, because he was making more than the mid-level exception. So there's certain flexibilities that you're on. But when you're a second apron team, it's over. It's over, man. It's over. You can't. Your mid-level exception goes away. Your biannual exception goes away. You can't aggregate players in a trade, which means you can't get multiple players in a trade. You can't sign a player that's bought out at all. So teams currently now like Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, they're so messed up. But here's the biggest thing about being a second apron team. When you're a repeater second apron team like the Boston Celtics currently are, your future first round draft picks gets frozen, which means you don't get them. And then if you continue at your draft capital, wherever you are, it goes to 30. The NBA did this, so there's no more super teams. And if you notice, you guys, the last few years in the NBA, you've seen different teams win the NBA championship. That's what the NBA likes. That's why the NBA did all this, you guys. It is to get away from the whole super team build, and it's boring every single year like it was when Golden State had it. Remember that 2018 NBA championship when Golden State beat Cleveland? Remember how boring the celebration was? That's what the NBA is trying to avoid. That's why they did all this. Is it boring? Is it taxing? Absolutely. But it's just the way the NBA is now. So Heat Nation, I want to hear from you. Would you bring back Davion Mitchell at the full mid-level exception? I know I would. But if the Heat can keep themselves under the tax apron line and shed themselves more salary, they can bring back Davion Mitchell at that amount and still keep their mid-level exception. That's what I'd be willing to do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You guys, thank y'all so much for the support. Enjoy your weekend. And until next time, your boy Ernest out. And that is enough said.